Oh, snap. What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for coming back for another episode of BrassReel tonight. We're going to be checking out part 3, finally, of the Friday the 13th franchise. It's been taking forever for me to get to this. I'm sorry. But as always, I got my partner in crime joining me, Andrew. What it
What
do?
up, What up, potty peepos?
George W. Can't be true. You remember that? That was from the Chappelle Show, episode season 3. Was when the Tupac when it's like it is like I was born a long time ago, back in 19 something. I don't know. Shit was funny though. How you guys doing today though? Thanks for joining us. Got a lot of crazy stuff going on before we talk about this Friday the 13th, part 3, finally, of the franchise discussion. Starting off with Jason Goes to Hell. But real quick, man, I wanted to bring up a couple things to you. Did you hear about the Roadhouse remake?
I've heard about this for a long time. Is it still with Ronda Rousey?
Oh, I don't know about that. This is with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh,
going straight
really?
to prime. They're like taking it kind of seriously. Yeah, I don't know about it.
No, man. I heard like 3 or 4 years ago by now that it was going to be a Ronda Rousey taking over the the Swayze role, and you know how the joke in the Roadhouse was, I thought she'd be bigger. The joke in this one be, I thought she'd be a man.
Right. I mean, I could see that being a thing, but no, they're definitely going with Gyllenhaal. It's been announced. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is the Batgirl movie. So I've done some more research on this now. So apparently, first off, I knew that Warner Brothers was going to be going for this new direction as far as whoever was running it prior to their new like CEO, the guy that's making all the decisions now, whoever was running it prior, they were trying to just greenlight everything to catch up with the MCU. Like they were more worried about quantity or quality than quantity. Whereas this new guy's like, no, we need to reel it back, focus on the characters we really the core characters that everybody loves. And so because of the Batgirl movie being under the older person's regime when it was like greenlit, now because of test audience reactions, like literally saying it's terrible, like it's really bad. They're using the word irredeemable.
Damn.
And they're saying that we think it would be damaging to the future of the DC brand. So they're just throwing.
Well, I'm glad that these films are taking a lot of taking the hits, if you will, from these audience pre-screening reviews.
Well, and you know what's funny too is I say funny, but I kind of agree with what one of the guys that I watched said. At first I was kind of like, man, this is weird. They're just shelving this, but this could be a good sign of what's to come as far as true leadership within the company. Like, nope, we don't need to just put this out because we have it. We need to make sure we're putting out good stuff now. So no, sorry. I know you guys, everybody got paid for doing what they did on that movie, but we're scrapping this because is it more treacherous to put out something that's going to tarnish the brand? And I think it is. If they think that it's going to make people not take DC seriously, if there's a chance for people to like, nope, I'm done with DC because of this movie, then yeah, throw it away, get something good. So I just think I wanted to just talk about that real quick. It's going away.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Marvel would start taking taking the hint as well. I mean,
slow it down,
slow it down. And I mean, it's pretty apparent. I mean, the way that I am seeing what they're doing is, in order to, I think they've just become a little too political, and I think that they're wanting to empower women, which is fine. But in doing so, they are dumbing down and weakening the male characters that we've already come to love. I mean, if you look at what Hulk was when it was the Universal movie to what he has become in the She-Hulk, he's weaker. And look what they just did to Thor, So stop doing that shit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, stop taking away what we loved, man. Like you're taking away all this stuff we loved. Andrew Edwards says, as much as I wanted more DC content, Batgirls always looked like a misstep. Hey, I agree with you, man. If you guys look back on some of my videos when I announced the girl that was playing, I was even announcing that because there was like a runoff between this girl and another girl, a redheaded girl. and they went with this other girl, Leslie. But I even said then that I was like, I don't know if we need a Batgirl movie. And at first they were going straight to HBO Max with it. And I just like that. I just don't know if that's the best idea in the
The
world.
only disappointing thing for me with the Batgirl situation is I was looking forward to seeing that had on IMDb that had Keaton as an old Bruce Wayne. I was looking forward to seeing how that was going to work.
So one of the other things they're saying about the test screenings is that it not only did her suit and everything look cheap in it, but Keaton's suit looked cheap too.
Oh Christ!
So it's like, yeah, just shelve it or trash it. Oh, we got old Pilch Daddy saying Conor McGregor is rumored also. He's talking about Roadhouse.
That's like the villain. That'd be cool.
That would be cool, man. I could see him like really. I could see Conor McGregor as a person being like, "You want me to play a villain?" Like getting really pumped up and playing a piece of shit villain. You know, like I could see that actually working. That would be fun.
I mean, if he can act for shit, then I guess give him. I guess
get him whiskey drunk and then just put him on there and roll the cameras. You know, but then he'll end up beating everybody's ass.
maybe he'll be the token like badass not the main bad guy, but like the right hand henchman. Yeah, the one who sways he takes his throat out. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Oh God, I loved it. I remember when I first saw that. We got to start talking about Friday the 13th, but I remember when I first saw that, I was just like, "Oh crap!"
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. That wind's killing that mic.
Sorry, man.
I don't know if there's a way you can turn it that it might not blow directly in there, but next time it's happening, I'll tell you, and maybe you can turn it and we'll experiment. But hey, let's get started on this freaking Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
man. So if you guys don't know already, I love Friday the 13th.
What?
Batman and Jason Voorhees are arguably my two favorite characters of all time, fictional characters. Now I'm talking about characters that have lasted forever and had multiple iterations of them. You know what I'm saying? Multiple incarnations we've seen on screen of them. Of course, there's the Rockies and the John McClanes and the Rambos, and the Terminators and all that. But those are the same character all throughout, the same pretty much iteration. Terminator's its own weird thing that's just flopped and flip-flopped. But as far as characters, really just decades and decades and decades and merchandise and Halloween costumes, just craziness, Friday the 13th, Batman Mania. Those are my two favorite characters of all time. And so with that being said, I don't love every Batman movie, but I do love a lot of Batman movies. So I don't love every Friday the 13th movie. And we're getting into the worst. I don't want to say the worst of the bunch because there are some redeemable qualities about some of what we're talking about here. No, well, there is obviously, but Jason X is the one where it's just like, I can't really even believe they did that. It's fun, but it's whack. But we'll get to it. We got a comment right here. Oh yeah, Andrew Edwards is saying icons. Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're icons. So starting off though, because I think we left off with
Jason Takes Manhattan.
So these are going in order right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being on the top, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 being on the bottom. We left off with Jason Takes Manhattan, which I feel like we kind of rushed that one a little bit, but there's not really a whole lot of saving grace about that movie. That movie's more nostalgic for me than anything because that was the first one that I saw as a kid when it came out. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see it in the theater, but like when it was released on VHS, as soon as it came out, I was able to watch it. And Jason Goes to Hell was the same way. I didn't see that in the theater, but I was able to watch it as soon as it came out on video. I could have seen it in the theater, Jason Goes to Hell, but I didn't for some reason. But what are your thoughts on Jason Goes to Hell? Do you remember much of it?
And like in what regards? Like a ranking of 1 through 10, or
just... like when I mentioned Jason Goes to Hell, are you like, that one actually was kind of an interesting one, or is it immediately like all right, I don't that was are you like, oh God, Jason Goes to Hell?
I just think it's awful. It's a 125 minute long movie, and I don't even know if I'm right. I'm just using this number as an example. It's a 125 minute long movie, and you see 5 minutes of actual Jason.
This is true.
That is bullshit and it's awful. They introduce Supernatural finally as if we're supposed to ignore that he's supernatural all along before this. Now they introduce that it's supernatural, and they conveniently add the that he can only be killed by a family member. And well, would you look at that? He actually does have a long lost sister that they discover in this movie that has never been mentioned before. I mean, it's so contrite, and it was just, I mean, it's bad, man.
Oh, as Andrew Edwards just said right here, Jason Goes to Hell is an abomination. And in fact, I've got proof that Jason Goes to Hell is an abomination, because there is a literal abomination in this movie. I just have to find the download that I got of it here, but well, this is Jason coming out of the grave. Sorry, wrong one. Well, I'm having a hard time finding. Oh, here it is. Okay, so that's the demon that gets transferred over from the body to body, and that's at some point you actually see this in the movie. So, for those of y'all that haven't seen Jason Goes to Hell, and it is literally an abomination, they kill Jason off in the first 5 minutes. So look, now let me just stop. The first 5 minutes of that movie are arguably the most Friday the 13th ever. It crosses off all the Friday the 13th cliches. You get all the feelings of Crystal Lake, all this awesome stuff. The girl who's like getting into the shower by herself in this old cabin in the woods. She goes to the shed to check on some stuff. So there's some false scares there. And then when you see Jason, dude, I love the way that Jason looks. I think he looks badass. It's just the fact that they blow him up right there. I mean, when I say blow him up, they pulverize the dude. I mean, just...
Oh, yeah.
You even see Jason's head flying in the air up close to the camera. So after that, it quickly went from being, like I said, arguably the most Friday the 13th feeling vibe of a Friday the 13th movie, quickly switches into the most non-Friday the 13th movie ever, outside of maybe Jason X.
Who's next?
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Jason Takes Manhattan, that was very non-Friday the 13th, but it kind of was still, because it was on the boat that was still coming from Crystal Lake. And, you know, it is the worst of like between 1 through 8, 8's the worst one. No question. Is this one worse than 8?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't have Jason all the way through there. Andrew Edwards, what do you think? Is this one worse than 8? You say it's an abomination.
Well, listen, I think that in hindsight, I think that maybe in the war room, or whatever you want to call it, the creative room, when they were coming up with Jason Takes Manhattan, which was part 8, I think that they thought in their head that this was going to be the movie to give it the whole franchise the closure it needs and end it. He's not and end it like with the whole, like, he turns into that mutagen stuff, turns him into the little boy that he was at the beginning. I thought that was their way. I think.
Oh, shoot. I don't know if it's because you got planes flying over, but you froze up there. So Andrew just froze up. So you might have to sign. Okay, there you go. I lost you when you said the boy at the mutagen. You thought that was going to be the end of part 8, but then what?
Oh, no, I was just saying, I think that maybe the writers, creative people, thought that they would kind of just the mutagen turn him back into the little boy he was before he was ever the killer he is, and kind of like book in the whole franchise. And it was not well received. It did not do well in the theaters, and so we got to do this again.
But it was so between 1980 or 1981, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 80. They were essentially releasing a Friday the 13th every year. If not, it was like if one was released at the beginning of one year and maybe released at the end of the next year, like that was like the biggest gap or something, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? There was never really more than a year and a half to 2 year gap between any of those films, but all the way to part 8. Part 9 was a few years, which was Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, 2003, I think, right?
Yeah, so part of what that was is that Sean S. Cunningham got the rights back to Jason because Paramount was done with Friday the 13th. So Joe Mancuso or Frank Mancuso Jr., who's the main producer of part 1 through 8, he decided, you know what, Jason's run its course. I want to sell this off. And so that's, if you notice, they were Paramount movies up until part 8. And then they
Well, because
sold off.
they realized it's going to shit. You can't continue to put that garbage out one year after another and think it's going to be good.
And he thought that too. And so because it was decline in profits. So, but after that, New Line bought it, who owned Freddy at the same time, which we're going to get to that part here in a second. But they just said, and Sean S. Cunningham, the director of the first one, he said, let's do Jason again. But he said he told the director, Adam Marcus, he said, but just get rid of the damn hockey mask, which is why we get shit like this in there where the doctor's eating Jason's heart, which, by the way, that's how that starts passing on from person to person. Jason's spirit starts passing on from person to person in this. And it first happens when this dude eats the heart. And so
who was the genius, though, that thought get rid of the iconic hockey mask?
That was Sean S. Cunningham, the director of he was the director of the first one, which was not a hockey mask movie, and neither was the second one. The third one was when the hockey mask came in.
So, I understand that. I understand that when he directed it, it was not a hockey mask, but that was his thinking. But it became an iconic thing. You don't want to get rid of. You don't want to get rid of what became the iconic Jason was the hockey mask.
We know that now. But then remember, at the end of part 8, it wasn't even a 10-year-old franchise yet. And so when they made part 9, which was I remember I was in the 7th grade, so that would have, what was that, like 93, maybe? Does that sound right? 90, because 89. I'm acting like but I think it was around 93 is when they made the other one. So it still wasn't what it is today. I think we know that now. I think that it was kind of like the Halloween 3 thing without doing it without Michael Myers. It wasn't an old enough franchise yet for them to realize, all right, this is what sells. Michael is what sells, not the Halloween name. And now they know the hockey mask is what sells, which is why they had that in the remake. And
I don't know. Do you really think that? Because I think that by the time that he donned the hockey mask and what I'm saying is
I think that they thought that there was a chance that they could sell this franchise without the hockey mask so much. Again, they all admit they were wrong. It was a misstep. I just think that it wasn't a 30-year-old franchise like it is now. You know what I'm saying? It was still slightly in its like teenage years of being now it's like, all right, shit.
Well, hey, just real quick, here's something that's about to mess with your mind. 8 years from now, the 80s is going to be 50 years ago. Just saying.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I want to read some of Andrew Obert's comments real quick. We already saw that one. He says, give me Jason X all day over Jason Goes to Hell. Woo, man.
Hey, man, at least Jason is actually in Jason X. I'll give you that.
All right. No, you're right. He also says Jason Goes to Hell is the Rocky V of the franchise. Yes. It is the Rocky V of the franchise, but I kind of feel like Jason X. The reason that I feel like Jason Goes to Hell is a little better than Jason X is because Jason X is like a cartoon. I mean, it really is. I even watched it recently. It's like, oh God, this is like, it's almost a comedy. He also says, don't New Coke my Jason with that body transference chash. Like, remember when they did New Coke and everybody's like, oh, it's the new Coke back in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
All pissed off. And so they brought back old Coke. Yeah.
So what? I mean, okay. So you asked me. Well, what are your true thoughts about Jason Goes to Hell?
Okay. Now,
you're probably one of the guys that thinks it's the best one.
No, I don't think it's a good movie. No, I think it's very low on the totem pole when it comes to the ranking of the Jason franchise. However, partly it could be because of me being in junior high when it came out and like being excited that there was like a new Jason movie when I was able to gonna really be a part of it all. And I was gobbling up horror like I do now. I have fun with this movie. I really do. There are parts in it that I think there's some cool kills in it. I think that Creighton Duke which I don't have a picture of him, which I can't believe I didn't put one up here. He's a badass character. He's hilarious. He's funny as shit. Like when he says the whole like hot dog thing, well, that
Yeah.
makes me think of a little hot,
Yeah, Clint loves that. Clint loves that little speech right there.
because it's hilarious. But and just the fact that he's breaking this dude's fingers in the jail cell to get information out of it's funny. But it doesn't make any sense in thread with everything we've seen before, or sort of what the heart of Jason is, no pun intended, which is just this sort of creepy dude in the woods. And for me, what's always really done it, which is why Jason X doesn't really do it for me all that much, is I love the camp slashers. To me, the camp slasher and like the beach type horror movies, those are almost the scariest because I've always loved the idea of this sort of what's supposed to be fun and this memorable time, memories, vacation, and it just is tainted by this other thing. And
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, our own film is basically that,
Yeah, but I grew up going to summer camps, and so there could be some relation there with it. I was always in the woods and around ponds. Anyways, what I'm saying is that everything I love about Jason, the Jason Goes to Hell barely has in it. It has a couple moments where they're at Crystal Lake, but it doesn't have the stalking dude with the hockey mask and machete in the woods and the whole cabin vibe. It just doesn't have it like it did in the back in the day. Now, however, like the kills though, that kill when they're in the tent and the Jason, who is the doctor body at that time, rams that like railroad spike through there and like stabs it through that girl while she's having sex with the dude, and then like slices her in half, and she like literally splits in half. No CG, just awesome special effects, makeup. I mean, all that stuff is great in the movie. So for like my horror satiation, I love Jason Goes to Hell for those reasons, but it's not a Friday the 13th movie. You know what I mean?
I was about to say that might make it a good horror film, but it doesn't make it a good Jason movie.
Right.
A good Friday the 13th
crazy ride.
Like, you could have taken that entire storyline and ixnayed Jason and made it to where some killer, some supernatural guy has been killed, but his spirit has moved on and other people, and there you go. You have the same storyline.
Yeah, it could. You're right. It's the same thing with the Halloween 3 thing. If they wouldn't have called it Halloween 3, it would have been well received. But
now
people are like, no fucking Michael Myers.
Yeah. Now, but now the Halloween 3 thing was because, what's his name? He was not ever interested in going past a part 2. In fact, he thought maybe make Halloween and then be an anthology, and hence why you have part 3. And
which would have worked if they wouldn't have made part 2. But you already got us used to it. Again, it was that same thing. Like I said, that you were saying, that same mistake with the hockey mask not wanting a part of the Jason Goes to Hell is a mistake. It's like, no, that's what we want, the hockey mask. Change up his weapons, that's fine, but give us you can even change the look of Jason from movie to movie, which they do.
They do.
But as long as we have the hockey mask, we're happy. I want to show one more thing that that Andrew said right here. He says Creighton Duke, the intro and the final glove scene are the only redeeming qualities of this one. And look, I think you're right. And the kill scenes. The kill scenes are good, but as far as the chain of events that's going on, it is ridiculous.
I'm not going to give it redeeming qualities because the kill scenes are creative, because it's not Jason doing them. Well,
okay, yeah. Now, I still think it's a fun movie to watch. So I still have fun with this movie. Like, I own it on Blu-ray, but I also own the entire collection of Jason and the box set, of Jason.
But would you give it a D minus, an F?
No. I can't remember. I actually have reviewed it on my channel, and I can't remember what I gave my review, so I don't want to like stick my foot in my mouth. But as it stands right now, I'd say it's probably like a C minus, maybe just a solid, just average C to C of a horror film, an average horror film. But I might have graded it higher at the time because I might have been excited about it for some stupid reason. That's another thing. You know how you go up and down with things sometimes. Like sometimes,
for sure.
You know what? But
if I was going to rate this in relation to the entire franchise, this is a fucking F.
Okay.
But if I look at this, if I look at this through the lens of only a horror film, a slasher, I would maybe give it a C minus.
Yeah, and look, if we're rating it within the Jason films, it's an F, and Jason X is an F minus, or this is a D minus, and Jason F. X
Is there such thing as an F plus? Because I've never had.
Well, no, do you remember that on the Tenacious D? He's like, you know what you get on that? He's like, what? And he's like, F plus. Yeah, it's just stupid Jack Black humor. But yeah, within the Jason franchise, it's the second worst in my opinion. But I'm talking about as it's just. But you know me, man. I have a whole video on my channel that's called "Yeah, It's Okay to Like Crappy Movies."
Oh,
So,
I know, and you love the three iconic horror characters so much that I think you always just want to give them a little bit more love than what they probably deserve.
Like the Rob Zombie Halloween 2. I don't like that movie. There are parts of it I enjoy watching, so I own it. And they're at Halloween time, I pop it in so I can enjoy like, oh, this opening scene at the hospital is badass. And then you find out it's a dream. And then the rest of the movie ensues. And then it's fun to like be like, look at this crazy shit. Like Batman and Robin. Like I watch Batman and Robin sometimes just so I can, you know, if I need to pick me up and I want to laugh and really laugh, throw Batman and Robin in. And it's like the funniest movie ever. You know what I mean? Because it's so ridiculous. So for me, but that's my sort of personality, man. I find things about it that I like and I hold on to that. But I would never be like, oh, dude, you got to watch Jason Goes to Hell. You know what I mean? That's just not ever would I do that. One thing I wanted to show you though, real quick, this is kind of an interesting thing. So the main guy in this, John D. LeMay, who was, I think, a famous Canadian actor at the time, and then sort of bled into America a little bit for a while in the early 90s. He is the same guy. Do you remember this guy in there? He's the main dude that's trying to stop. He's trying to go tell the Voorhees family, like, no, and the baby that's in the movie is his baby. And
yeah.
He was the same guy that was in the Friday the 13th show. So
okay. See, I hardly even remember the show because I think it bombed.
No, the show is actually successful, believe it or not. But it just got taken off the air due to a lot of that guy leaving the show because he wanted to do other things. And like I said, I think he was a slightly successful Canadian actor, like in Canada. But it was based around these guys. So the old man in the middle owned this antique artifact shop, and this guy knew him. The guy on the right, John D. LeMay, worked there. And worked for this dude, and that girl on the left is his cousin, and she was famous, and she went by the name of Robbie, like R-O-B-Y. And the whole gimmick is that there were these. It was kind of like a Smallville type deal. Like you remember how the meteor rocks in Smallville, when the meteor shower fell, not only did Superman land, but meteor rocks spread. And now all these people have these random powers, and certain villains we were created by it. Well, this is like these antiques have gone all missing from this shop. There was something that happened that they all went missing. And they have to track them down one by one because they were all like either possessed or haunted somehow or enchanted with some sort of. So each of these antiques make these situations occur. So every episode, it's like Supernatural. They have to take care of some sort of thing in Supernatural every episode. And what it is, you'll find out at the beginning of the episode. That's how this is. So, like, for example, if there was like an old antique mirror, well, that mirror belongs to somebody now and they have to get it back. But whoever it belongs to, you get to see what happens when they start looking in this mirror and all this. You know what I'm saying? It's just so it's cool things like that. The show is actually pretty entertaining, in my opinion. I own it.
Yeah, but you own all the bad ones and the good ones.
You shut your mouth. Yeah.
All right. So Jason X. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you're moving forward. Good job.
So it says that the Jason Goes to Hell. The final. When did Jason Goes to Hell? The final Friday.
Jason Goes to Hell, and the final Friday was called. That was the tagline, which is funny because part 4 was the final chapter.
Right. Because none of these were ever the final.
But I just love how they used the final in 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, because man, they just never really knew what they were doing, in my opinion.
No, of course not. I mean, that was the whole fun of it. It was like, what the hell are they going to do next? And which brings us to this one. I mean, shoosh. Now, look, I think it's in a weird way, isn't it kind of like rite of passage, scratch it off the bucket list if you've been around for that long as a horror icon. It's like, let's do it in space. Isn't that sort of like, it's like, would it have been? I don't think you could have ever done it with Michael Myers. Now, I guarantee you somebody has tried to pitch that script though.
Sure. All three of them in space.
Yes. Now, would have Freddy, I think, essentially would have worked the best in space because you wouldn't have really had to explain everything. It would have been dreams and it could have worked in space. But the segue to getting Jason into space was just stupid. And then why is in space? And it's like, come on.
Well, if you look at this whole franchise in a canonical sense, this entire franchise spans almost 500 years.
When you look at Jason Goes to X, yeah, and they even say he's killed. I can't remember how many people they listed off at the beginning of Jason X, but because it's this is another fun thing. Let me get some of these comments real quick. And look, yeah, you're right. Leprechaun did it. Pinhead did it. And so it's sort of become this kind of fun thing. I think even that there's got to be more that have done it. Obviously, Candyman hasn't done it because they stopped it after the third one in this remake. But David Cronenberg, the great David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, and I think I might have a picture of this, maybe not. At the very beginning of Jason X, though, Jason is hanging from some chains. And he's literally, this is right before right after he gets out of the chains. This is right before he's about to kill David Cronenberg. But he had been hanging in these chains and like he's on trial now. And it's the first thing you see in the movie because they're like, Jason has killed over, so-and-so 100 people, multiple hundreds of people, whatever, over the years, la, 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 la. Now he is being convicted and sentenced to whatever. And they're going to cryogenically freeze him because they can't kill him. That's literally what they're saying. But then David Cronenberg walks up to him and like looks at him and like, I guess he's like some sort of corporate a-hole, like some sort of RoboCop villain or something. And then Jason kills him right away. But it's just funny that like out of all the Friday the 13th movies that have existed, and David Cronenberg being the pioneer of horror director that he is, this is the one you choose to be in.
Well, no, wait, didn't it wasn't a like sentencing of like Demolition Man? Wasn't he was escaping and he started killing all of these people and then one of the girls lures him into the crowd, the place and thinks the only way to get out of this is to freeze him and lures him in there and hits the button and he frozen.
Gets caught in there with him, but they were gonna freeze him anyways because they were like, we can't kill you. So the only way is to freeze you, but then it goes wrong because he breaks out of the chains and starts killing people, and then she's like, well, I have to freeze myself with you. Hence, years down the road, them thawing out on the spaceship.
And let's not forget to discuss how different he looks while he's on trial, if you will.
Well, this is what he looks like when he's on trial.
Yeah. Look at that. Look, he's got hair coming out of there. Now look at the way he looked at the end of or whatever you can whatever bits you can find of him from the previous film, Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh yeah, which I love this Jason.
Like what?
His skin is all embedded into the mask and everything.
Yes,
like, I love that look. Like
that is zombie Jason right there. The skin is decaying and falling off his body.
I love that Jason look. I really do. Like, again, say what you will about the movie, and I agree, it's not a Jason movie, but that is one of the coolest looking Jasons out there. Kane Hodder, God rest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But my point is, why was he not zombie Jason at the beginning of X?
Dude, you're totally right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think that at the end of the day, it's a new person playing Jason. And that's what they wanted to do with it. Not playing Jason, controlling Jason and directing Jason, and that's what they wanted to do with it. But look, the mask is just on him right here, and then right here, it's just like,
yeah, it's like embedded in the skin. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, but again, they've changed Jason so many times. I mean, if you look at the way he looked in part 3 to part 4, totally different, and then the way he looks in part 6, it's totally different. Part 5, it's not even Jason, but. So that's another one, that's a non-Jason movie too. But part 5 still feels like a Jason movie because it's at Crystal Lake the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What you're saying, continuity has never been this franchise strong point. No, it's not. It's just like the X-Men movies. They just like make another one. Let's say, let's make another one. Well, did you think this out? Oh, who cares? Let's just make another one. And at
Well,
least,
they insult the intelligence of the people who actually really love the characters in the franchise.
but
I think because they just think that we're not going to care, we're going to see it anyways, which we do. But
don't you think that like the Friday the 13th movies have kind of always been sort of the party one of the franchise of the icons? Like the Friday the 13th franchise had the most made in the 80s out of all of them. Like the first Halloween was made in 78. The second Halloween wasn't made, but like almost 10 years later. And then the third Halloween was made right at the end of it. And then the next Halloween was made in the late 90s.
I mean, yeah, you're not. I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah,
Which is what I'm saying. I think that they were more of just the party.
It was always more. Yeah, it always took place at a party or the going to the lake kind of feel. I mean, you're right. And as the franchise went on, especially in the remake, it was all about a party, and a party gone wrong.
Yeah, and I kind of that's so like for me, I never expected like to walk out of a Jason movie and be like, whoa, dude. But a Halloween movie, you can kind of chance that you might actually get that experience. And maybe with with Nightmare on Elm Street, they at least tried to create continuity with the Nightmare on Elm Streets and with the Halloweens after part 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they treated these like the X-Men movies. They just made them more. Continuity didn't matter. Certain rules didn't apply that applied on the last ones. One of them, Jason walks slow. The next one, he runs. You know what I mean? It's one of them, he's sort of fat. One, he's skinny. It's just, they just didn't care enough. And a lot of it just had to do with the money that they were going with the director.
Right. Which I think if anybody were to create this idea today, I think the best way to go would be, it's a Friday the 13th anthology where it always deals with Jason, but
just show a different scenario.
But every film has literally nothing to do with the other film.
Yeah, just show a different Jason scenario. Show a different group of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they kind of tried to do with like the first 4. You know what I'm saying? They kind of tried to just be like, oh, another group of people, and it's another section and area of Crystal Lake. But once they got to 5 and there's no Jason, and then again, 6 I think is really good. I like 6 a lot. 7 would have been better if the MPA just didn't rape it and make it just so edited down. But 8 was the start of the true departure of the franchise, and I think everybody agrees with that. But this is one that I could go pretty much never watching it again, except for the face salad scene. That is great, dude. When he slams her down, and I couldn't find the actual.
Yeah, what like freezes her in like some sort of like a
liquid nitrogen or
something. Yeah, nitrogen, and it just bangs her head. Yeah.
And then he picks her up and looks at it, and then he just like just slings her across the room on the ground, and he's like, yeah.
And then this one has I don't know if they were calling it in the film, but this one has like nanotechnology before Tony Stark invented it,
Yeah. And so
it brings his body back together after that the cyborg just destroys him
right here.
Yeah.
And that was
before that though.
Well, no, but yeah, because this is when he becomes Jason. This is when he knocks her head off. But yeah, I was just showing the picture though.
Oh yeah.
That's terrible.
Come on. You have an action figure of that on your wall. I know you do.
I don't. They haven't made one.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Not one that I would buy. They have. So what they did with the Friday the 13th ones is they released them like the first 4 or first 3, because the first movie doesn't have Jason in it, and then they released the next 3, and then for part 5 they released 2 versions. One that's the false Jason, and one that's just like a fun Jason that you see like in Tommy's images, like in his brain. He sees him, has flashbacks. And then they just released part 7 like a year ago, the one where he's all his skeleton show, and the one that has Laura Park Lincoln in it.
Yeah.
And so now we're waiting on the Jason Takes Manhattan, which everybody calls the Greasy Jason or the Slimy Jason, because he's wet that whole movie, because he's been in the lake. And then we're waiting on the Jason Goes to Hell one, which is, I think, is badass. I'd love to own this character just because I think the character would look awesome. Or they're
going to release the Doctor possessed, an action figure of the Doctor. That's possessed.
The news anchor in suspenders that gets possessed at one point in the movie. See what Andrew Edwards has to say. He says Friday the 13th has always been a traveling carnival of an experience. Comes back every year and delivers junk food and cheap entertainment for the masses. That's it, dude. That's it.
That is great. That is
beautifully said. And that's what I like about it. That's part of what I like about this character. It's a party to me. I don't know if I've ever, to be honest, the most frightened, I think, outside of being a kid. When I was a kid, I was afraid of everything that I was watching. But outside of like the new movie, the remake, there actually are some moments where I'd be like, all right, I would be afraid of that dude right there. Like the way he's running and the way, like Derek Mears, which real quick, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to Jason X real quick. I mean, Jason X is a solid overall, just in movies general, not rated within the Jason films. It's still like a D.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And
it's not a good movie.
No, it's just, I mean, there are a couple of parts that are fun to watch. So that's why it's not a full on F. Like for me, an F is like unwatchable, but within the Jason franchise, it's an F. No question.
But see, if we're keeping it just strictly within the Jason franchise, I give Jason X over Jason Goes to Hell. At least the entire movie is about Jason.
I mean, you're right, and
it doesn't mean I'd rather watch that movie. I don't care enough to sit and watch either of those movies.
I'll still.
I'm not like you. If I want to put on a horror movie just for the background, I'm just gonna put on the original Scream. Because I don't need to sit and watch it. I don't need to actually sit and watch it.
That almost all of the Friday the 13th except for Jason X. But Scream and the Scream franchise, the Halloweens, those I put on a lot to watch in the background, especially Scream 1 and Halloween 1. I put those on in the background all the time just because they put me in the mode, dude. They put me right where I want to be mentally. So yeah, I think everybody agrees. Jason X, not a good movie. I mean, look, you do have this one scene, and I think let me see if I can find it real quick, where, what we didn't talk about with Jason Goes to Hell, though? And we'll get to it after this, but the one scene that I do like in Jason X is when he goes back to the campground. And he gets to like take these girls for being all naked for him, and he puts them both in sleeping bags, and he just starts slamming these sleeping bags around like just. Because remember in part 7, he just slings it one time, and so it's like this little return to Crystal Lake like CG sim that he's in, like virtual sim that Jason's in. And he's these like girls that are like fake. That's just a fun comedic scene, but again, doesn't redeem the movie. He says Jason X has the highest kill count as well, he believes. And it might, yeah. I'm not sure about that. I know that part 5 has a pretty high kill count. And I think that one's like 20-something kills. But they're so off. There's so many of them that are off screen that it doesn't feel all that violent. 5 is extremely tame, in my opinion. But one thing we didn't talk about with Jason Goes to Hell is this. So with New Line buying,
that's right. Yeah.
So with New Line buying the rights to not to Friday the 13th, but the rights to the Jason Voorhees character, we get this scene right here where he's getting pulled down into hell because they stab him in the heart with that knife. And you remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, a knife that suddenly is magical, but they don't explain how it's magical.
Right. If they don't explain. Oh, and remember, Jason. That's another thing we didn't talk about. This girl right here. After Jason kills her, that little spirit of Jason, that little creature tongue thing, crawls up into her nana.
Right. That's how he's able to become his real self again.
Clothes and all. just all the beat up, belt, the mask, everything. It's like, oh, all right. This is, again, it jumps the shark hugely, but it
But yeah, you're right. I actually meant to talk about that knife, that knife, because it's like a, he can only, first of all, he can only be killed by, they create this, it's like they retcon this entire franchise into, now what you've never known this entire time and has never been brought up in this entire time is they can only be killed by his family member, and with this magical knife that we have no background on.
Yeah, this
no explanation as to where it comes from.
There's and there is a Necronomicon in the movie. Did you know that? So if
I watch it again, I'll probably catch it, but no.
Yeah, when they go to that one house, when John D. LeMay is going to that one house, and he's hiding in that little corner, and he watches the one dude who's Jason at the time as shaving that cop, and then he transfers him to that cop right there, and then the cop ends up melting on the floor and everything. While he's waiting there looking for a bunch of stuff before the guy comes in there, he sees in the corner, and it's on this little stand, and it's the Necronomicon.
Well, where the fuck was Ash then?
But that's the thing. They were trying to plant these fun seeds because New Line owned them all at the time. And so you can watch behind the scenes. Adam Marcus, the director, he's like, yeah, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have an Ash versus Jason versus Freddy. And of course,
I think this is a dark comic has that.
Anyways. Yeah, they do. They also have Michael Myers, because the comic books can do all kinds of stuff because it's not movie rights. You know what I mean? So with that being said, they made Jason X after Friday the 13th, or after Jason Goes to Hell. Did you know that Jason X was actually made 2 or so years before it actually got released in the theater, but they finally released it because they figured, let's try to make some money off of it to get people to Jason in people's head again, because they were about to start real production on Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
But this movie had gotten leaked online, not the script, like the movie got leaked.
Jason X.
Yeah, before they ever released it. So it had become sort of this cult classic online before it ever got released. And by the time, but this is back in the day when not everybody owned a computer yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So by the time it got released, the true fans that were hunting for it weren't really going to see it because they had already found it. I got the bootleg copy of it.
Well, so with Jason X, it has expanded 500 years, give or take, in the canonical times, and it has the franchise finally comes back full circle.
Oh yes.
And he gets sent. He gets flies out of space and lands into Earth. And where does he land? In a body of water with his mask right there. And it's not Crystal Lake, because this is supposed to be Earth 2.
Yeah.
500 years in the future.
Now that would have been hilarious, right? Like if they would have actually tried to do that movie.
Yeah.
But hey, moving forward, because we're kind of running out of time. We agree that this is not our favorite movie. However, when they finally did, we heard about it for years and decades, and at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, with us seeing this, and then we get a Jason X movie, we're like, are we going to get this Freddy versus Jason movie? And then when we get the preview and we see the pictures and we start seeing this actually in theaters.
Hell yeah.
We see this like poster in theaters coming soon. It's like, oh shit, they're doing it. And look, I have to say, man, they delivered. They delivered hardcore with this, if you ask me.
I loved every minute of this. I remember going to the theaters with the girlfriend I had, and both of us had just graduated high school. And we were freshmen in college, and I was just like, "We're going to see this movie tonight." She didn't. In hindsight, I don't really think she cared about horror movies. She wasn't like a scaredy cat, but she had really no interest in it. She just was like, "Okay, let's have a date night. Let's go see this stupid movie you want to go see." And I remember to this day the ticket booth guy, because this is back when they actually tore your ticket,
Yeah.
And he was like, "Are you excited about seeing this?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, they beat the shit out of each other, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Because all the back in the day, all them theater guys that worked there, they were theater nerds, so they love or movie nerds. They loved to watch that stuff beforehand, so they could be like, "Oh, you guys are gonna love this." Yeah, I think, man. I mean, right away when it starts off and you see the girl that's in Crystal Lake, and then you start seeing her like seeing things wrongly, and then seeing like Jason's mom and Pamela Voorhees, the hybrid way they blended the Crystal Lake lore with the Elm Street lore was beautiful, dude. Like you could tell that they really worked hard on it. Is it a suspended disbelief story? Of course, dude. It's about Freddy and Jason fighting each other. Of course,
All of these are a suspended belief.
that's what I'm saying. But like, so right away, just because it's a ridiculous sort of premise to begin with, Freddy versus Jason, doesn't mean that it can't be well done, and doesn't mean they didn't work their asses off on this movie, because you can tell it shows in the movie. The humor's there, the kill scenes are there, the vibes from both franchises are equally there. And when you see Jason on screen, you see Jason Voorhees, and when you see Freddy on screen, you see the Freddy you've always loved and known. Like they really got it right. I was really amazed when I saw it, because I was so worried that I was about to walk into a piece of trash.
Yeah.
You know? I think a lot of, but dude, just right away, look at this, man. The thought that went into this shot alone, is that not two hockey players about to start playing hockey?
Oh, for sure. That is so cool.
It's mano a mano, you know? And it's like, I know the director's like, yeah, get there like some hockey players, because you guys are about to start. And they throw down so hardcore, and then the metal music playing, the rock music, everything. I mean, it's just like, not only are we wanting Jason and Freddy to fight, but we want the audience to feel like you're at a paid boxing match with Freddy and Jason. And
The only thing that would have been cooler is if it looked like they were more like 6 feet apart, 10 feet apart, and it looked like somebody was supposed to say, "Fight!"
Oh yeah, like Mortal Kombat or something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Round 1,
fight. Yeah, that would have been awesome. I got a comment here. So Andrew says Freddy versus Jason finally understood its target audience and delivered something that treated its source with respect, provided a tight, funny, brutal package. Yes, dude. I'm so glad you agree with us on that, because we agree. I just think it, because they knew what we wanted from it. Like when there are moments that are really jacked up when they're doing like some Nightmare on Elm Street type stuff. Like when they're in the morgue and all those little kids sit up in the beds, and they've got the patches in their eyes, and they all look to the right, and the one girl talking, her eyes are all cut out. I mean, it gets creepy in moments. And then, the imagery is great. And then without missing a beat, it switches over to this Camp Crystal Lake vibe, where it's like when they're and I'm going to try to find a picture of it real quick. When they're at the cornfield, and you see and Jason turning that dude's head around, right there. He's like,
and that guy who looks like he's trying to be Jack Black.
Yeah. Go find a pig to fit. But dude, when we're seeing Jason just wrecking shop, sorry about me not cropping these shots right this time around, guys. I was running behind today, didn't have time to do it. But this is so great, dude. Like, that's just such a mayhem moment. And again, dude, I mean, haven't we always wanted to? We've seen Jason on fire before, but we've seen Jason on fire because he's getting attacked and he's trying to put himself out. We've never seen Jason being like, I don't give a shit about this fire, And it just keeps slashing people, dude. It's great.
This fire.
Yeah, I loved just the way they were able to switch back between the nightmarish version that Freddy was bringing in this movie. And I'm trying to find one more shot that I had that it's, like, when they're getting to the close stuff where he's like, and sometimes when he's really evil, he's got the teeth and everything. The way they go from that all the way back to straight up Jason in the cornfields and doing this, and it just, I don't know, man. I thought it was greatness. They nailed it.
Or yeah, I mean, even just the idea of a masked man killer in a cornfield. I mean,
scary.
Yeah.
They knew, and again, so the guy Ronnie Yu that directed this, who also directed Bride of Chucky, he never saw a Friday the 13th movie. He's like, but I knew what the characters should. He's like, but I knew what these characters were and what they stood for, and he's like, I knew what they should be. And he's like,
Interesting.
I knew, and he's like, I knew what to do with these characters, and I mean, I think it shows that it was somebody that wasn't so obsessed with the characters that they dove too deep in to the lore so much to where they forget to tell a fun, entertaining story. I think this really shows that they got writers that knew about the characters, but they got a director that wasn't going to get so hung up on so many little, but this has to be this way. It's just like, hey, no, look, we do it like this with this lighting and this way, and this guy's playing Jason. It's going to feel like Friday the 13th. We just need, you know what I mean? I felt like it was that lightning in a bottle we needed, man. And I don't think it'll ever be done again as far as any sort of team up. Like Batman versus Superman wasn't as good as this. Yeah. I don't think that they'll ever get this again, the way like two icons that were never intended to be on the same screen together come together and fully deliver.
One legit critique I've heard, and when I say legit, I'm not saying that I agree with it.
Let me see if I can guess. Is it the water thing?
No.
Okay.
It is a give or take a 90-minute film and 15 minutes of them fighting.
Yeah, I mean, they have.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, I said that I was kind of saying that about the Obi-Wan series, where it's like, if you give me a 45 minutes episode and 10 minutes of them fighting, that is a failure. So I understand on another level. I understand on one point on one hand that, you know, a movie called Freddy versus Jason and the time, if you looked at the time that they spent on screen together was like 15 minutes.
Well, they have some encounters though, because they had the fight in the boiler room and then they had the fight at the end. But that's the thing. They're always sort of playing a chess match in the movie. Freddy is trying to get Jason to come back and scare people into Freddy again. And then he starts taking Freddy's victims. Jason doesn't realize that he's just killing. And so Freddy starts getting pissed. And so it is sort of a chess match back and forth, but then they finally are able to come together. I like that because it still feels like Freddy is trying to get Jason the whole movie. So that doesn't bother me. And you still see both of them the whole movie. I mean, you could say the same thing about Heat. You only have a few minutes with De Niro and Pacino on screen, but that's still a badass movie. And it lends to what's going on because by the time, it's almost like if they would have had more time on screen in Heat, that scene of them at the table talking wouldn't have been as good. And that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like with the guys from,
we went to go see that movie because it's like De Niro and Pacino.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they weren't iconic. They were iconic actors, and not iconic characters.
But what I'm saying is that's why
I understand. I get. I don't mind. I didn't really mind, and I didn't walk out of the movie thinking like they didn't fight enough. You know, because there was still a storyline to tell and explain how this is happening. You know, you know, they couldn't just make it where they fight for 30 minutes and now you got 30 minutes to tell the story.
No, we still need kills.
Yeah.
So my thing is that they were both in the movie the whole movie. If they would have not been in the movie, like a lot of the movie, and it's like you barely see Jason, you barely see Freddy, and then they come together at the end and fight, then I would have been pissed. But the fact that they're both in the movie the entire time, I'm cool with it because it's sort of, again, it's like they're coming from one person's way over here, one of them's over here, and the entire movie they're trying to get to this spot, and finally at the end they get here and it goes down. To me, it works because we're seeing them the whole time. So it's kind of like Smith and Keanu Reeves or Neo. And they're not really ever seen each other.
Yeah,
they're
and you got
each other.
And then you finally got the iconic line of "Welcome to my nightmare." You know.
Yeah. And so all of that tension, I think, for me, works. I loved all that.
And then I think you got that girl when she gets Freddy back in the real life because, you know, they realize I can hold him when I wake up, and he's, you know, and then she's like, "Welcome to my world, bitch."
Yeah, all that was beautiful. Yeah. And I'm looking for a shot of all of them. Oh yeah, so this one had all these three hotties in there, and I can't ever remember. I can obviously remember Kelly Rowland's name, but I can't remember the other two's name. But they were all good in this.
The one on the far end is something Kenna.
Yeah, I can't remember.
She was in Entourage. She had a lot of plastic surgery done that kind of ruined her.
Right. The girl in the middle I told you was on Hannibal, and she played a good part on there. But anyways, girl on the left is the lead, girl in the middle, and the girl on the right, Kelly Rowland, are just cannon fodder. They get picked off pretty quickly. But I have to say, though, one of Jason's best kills ever, and I'm trying to find it. I'm doing a terrible job at finding it.
Yeah, the fucking dude on the mattress.
Yeah, dude. Where is it? I got it. Don't worry. I just saw it a second ago. Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh,
amazing. And what's funny behind the scenes, the writers are talking about how the MPA, they were all in a room viewing the movie, and they were like, man, that might be might need to take that out. And the writers is like, no, you're going to want to keep that in.
you're going to want to leave that in.
Yeah, just trust us. But one of the other things the writers said that this was not our idea, but they said that the studio said that we need Jason to have a weakness that Freddy can exploit. Because they felt like overall Jason, like just looking at the two of them fighting, if they were in the real world, like he needed a weakness. And so they gave him this water weakness.
That's the water stuff that never had any sort of thing to do with the entire
in the water in the other movies, dude. He's
right.
all up in the water. So Damian Swift and Mark I think it's Mark Johnson and Damian Swift, or anyways, the two guys that wrote that and the Friday the 13th remake, they both said that please let us make that clear. That was not our idea. We've never thought that Jason's afraid of water, but they put that in there. So I thought that for me, that's the one thing that kind of is like, it wasn't needed. I was fine with them able to fight. Fight.
One could argue though that, hey, if the studio or the people, the non-creative people who were telling you what to do, if they think that you need to add, if they're giving you the idea of water to make Jason weaker, that wasn't our idea. Well, what was your idea? Was your idea better than that? Was your idea, would it have been better?
No, what they were saying is they didn't think that Jason needed a weakness for him to exploit. We just need them to start fighting, like, because at the end, Jason still walks away with Freddy's head in his hand. You know what I mean? And Freddy winks at the screen. So, like, it's not like that water weakness even stopped Jason to begin with. He still won. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't need this water thing to exploit Jason to even exist. I don't think they had anything because that wasn't a part of their script. But the studio was like, we feel like that there needs to be a weakness that Freddy can exploit on Jason. And so
right, but I guess I'm just saying, like, could they not have pitched a reason why Jason doesn't need a weakness?
No, I think that the studio liked their water. I think the studio's like, well, we had this idea with the water. We want to go with that, and boom, there it is. Because they can do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, like.
Well, I'm sure that they tried to tell him not to do it. No, what about this? If you have to do something, why don't you do this? And I'm sure the studio was just like, no, we have to do it. Because the way the writers say it, they're just like, the studio insisted on putting that in there. So I'm sure it was that.
But yeah, I mean, the end, it's almost like they couldn't really, we're not going to really choose a winner. So let's do it. Let's do it with, his head gets chopped off, but not by Jason, by one of the forgettable teenagers. And then he walks out of the water and with Freddy's head, and he's actually still alive, and it kind of, hey.
Yeah. So
okay.
And that's great. And I think if you would have had a clear winner, you would have had too much people like, well, I'm not sure if it would have happened that way, but this way you can't really say anything about it. You know what I mean?
No, that's fine. I get it. I just it was kind of like, why wasn't it I guess another critique.
You don't have any losers. You don't have a team that lost, is what I'm saying.
Right. I get what you're saying. Like, you can't have Jason be the obvious winner. You'd have the Freddy fans like, that's bullshit, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But I guess on one hand you could have been like, okay, well, why couldn't it have been? Did it have to be one of the teenagers that gave the final blow to Freddy? It couldn't have been that it was a simultaneous kind of thing. I mean, it's being petty over a film that's almost 20 years old by now. But I'm just
Yeah, I mean, I
wondering.
see what you're saying. I'm not so sure that. I think it's just they wanted her to get that sort of final girl moment, to where because she's had it in every other Friday the 13th movie and every other nightmare movie. There's been some sort of final moment where the human person gets here, get yours. I think that's all that they were going for, personally. Real quick, I want to say,
All right,
Andrew just says it's more of a juxtaposition of Freddy Fire, Jason Water. I see that, but I don't need that in this movie. I don't need that. Oh, look at this poetic element that he's representing fire and he's representing. I mean, I'm watching the Freddy versus Jason movie, so I didn't need that in there. So I don't think the water thing was necessary. I think the movie would have worked without that water weakness.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the fire thing has actually been a continuity thing with at least in all of the Nightmare movies. I mean, he got burned. He doesn't like fire.
Sure. I'm not saying that that's not what they were going for. They probably were going for that. I just don't need that.
And even though Jason drowned as a child, they never made it seem as if water scared him.
No, like he attacks people. He chases down Tommy in part 6 in the water. Like he's never had he comes up from the water and gets on the ship in part 8. Like that's never been an issue.
If anything, you would think that water made him feel more at home because I drowned and died in the water and was reborn in the water.
Sure. Yeah. It's like the womb to him. So covering this movie, and we're going a little overtime here, but I don't care.
It's okay. Let's do it.
This movie right here, I have to say, is kind of becoming like my favorite one to watch. The 2019 or the 2009
2009 Friday the 13th remake.
So look, right now, so as it's always been in the past, Kane Hodder has always been my go-to Jason. He's my favorite. I've met him. He's signed stuff for me. I've gotten pictures with him, all that stuff. He's cool, all that shit. But man, and he's played Jason more times than anybody else. Played Jason 4 times. But dude, I can't help but just believe that Derek Mears has it, dude. Derek Mears as Jason was really, I think, maybe the most threatening I've seen. What do you think?
I could agree with that. I mean, just his size, just in general, is. I mean, he's a fucking big dude, and yeah, I get it. I think in the '80s, and I don't know. I mean, the original Jason. What was his name? And how his measurements? You know how tall he was.
Well,
was he physically threatening, like in real life, like without being Jason? Or did they manipulate that in the film to make him look, like?
No, he's a big guy. He was probably definitely, 9-10 inches taller than me, but maybe a foot taller than me. He was a big guy, but I think Derek Mears is a little bigger. I think Ronnie Yu, the guy that played Jason in Freddy versus Jason, I think is the biggest one they've gotten. But Derek Mears was big, but the way Derek just portrayed this Jason, man, there was just something about it that I really liked. This Jason is a little more thoughtful in this. I mean, don't you agree?
Thoughtful?
In the sense that he's got a bow and arrow. He hunts down stuff. He's got this little underground area. Like he's kind of smart.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, they just make it seem like he's a hunter.
Well, he's got to survive somehow, right?
Right, and they kind of give him a little bit more of a human element than we've experienced in a long time with the Jason Voorhees character. So which kind of lends the disbelief or the belief that he is not superhuman. He's not supernatural. He does need to eat. He does need to, and so he's hunting and surviving on his own in this little underground tunnel. And he sees that and he kidnaps that. He actually keeps that girl rather than kills her because it reminds her of his mother. Which would not be a supernatural villain thing to do. It's
No,
a human,
that's an
it's a human
emotional
thing to
thing.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing to do, which is very human.
Yeah. I do think that they were trying to sort of start from scratch. I was really worried of how they were going to depict Jason, if they were going to just go straight to this zombie Jason, if they were going to remake the movie with no Jason, do just the first movie. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But then once I saw the trailer, you quickly realized, no, they're going for the hockey mask. So what I thought was really great about this one is how they sort of combined the best elements of 1 through 4, the original movies, and sort of combined them into this hybrid film. So you've got the opening scene, which is to me one of the best opening scenes in a movie ever. Definitely my favorite.
30 minutes long, dude.
26 something minutes or 28 minutes. My favorite opening in a horror movie by far, but maybe one of my favorite openings in any movie, just because of how intense it is. In fact, the rest of the movie is kind of tame compared to this opening scene. I wish the rest of the movie, I thought it was prepping us for how intense this movie was about to be, but the rest of the movie is slightly tame compared to the opening scene. But over time, I've realized what he was doing with this. He's truly remaking the entire franchise in one movie. That's what Mark Nispel did.
Yeah, it's like part 1, 2, and 3, right? All in one.
Part 1 through 4, but even
1 through
then,
4.
still, just like David Gordon Green in this last Halloween movie is putting elements of part 3 in there, like with the masks from the kids and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like with the happy Halloween, like Friday the 13th remake is riddled with those kinds of Easter eggs from the entire franchise. Like, but storyline wise, it's following 1 through 4 sort of scrambled up together. So like I see what they're doing over time. So by the end of the movie, where it starts to get kind of silly and comedic at certain points, they're truly trying to mimic the end of what the franchise was starting to become. Like I've watched some interviews now with them, and it's like they went so deep with this sort of remake the franchise, touch on all the elements, that they kind of lost it a little bit. It would have been better if it would have been more intense, kind of like Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, in my opinion. But with all that being said, the opening scene, the opening credits are like part 1. And when I say the opening credits, I mean where it's all in black and white, and he's like, kill, and you see all that happen. You see part 1. The opening scene where we get to see all them get killed, and like the dude from American Pie who gets stabbed in the head. I've got the picture of it coming up right here, right? Like,
that's not the dude from American Pie, man.
Oh, but you're right. You're right. It's not. That's the dude from Superstore. My fault. They look alike though, but you're right. That's not him.
But then you got the girl, her right there, who gets wrapped up in that beanbag. I think that actually is straight out of one of the originals, right?
Well, it doesn't put her over the fire, but he does kill a girl in a beanbag. He just slams her up against a tree. So like that's all part 2, and then the rest of the movie is sort of a hybrid of part 3 and 4. Like the people going to stay at the camp now with like hang on, I got a picture of them. The whole group of people, Travis Van Winkle. Shoot, I've got I just had it, and I just had it up here too. Danielle Panabaker, our boy Jared Padalecki, all these guys. This whole group going to stay at the cabin represents part 3. And then Jared Padalecki, who he's actually not a part of this group, he meets up with this group because he's on his motorcycle and he just runs into him. But he's searching for his sister.
He's looking for his lost sister. Right. His lost sister in part 3.
Who's supposed to be a part of the group from part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And in the original movies, he's looking for one of his sisters from the other movies, because in part 4, there's a guy on a motorcycle. So all that's all tied up, and that's the basically storyline. But all the kills and all the stuff that happened throughout the house and little things here and there, there's nods to the entire franchise all the way through. But I love it when Willa Ford's in the water right here. I mean, and I can't show the full scene of how she gets killed, but I do have a picture of her when he's got her pulled up. I love it. Just stabs her through the deck with that machete, and he just lifts her up, and you get that boob shot, which perfect for a horror film. I got a comment right here by Andrew. He says that 09 Friday is solid all around, but it kind of plays the franchise hits without adding much. I feel they condensed 1 and 4 with that movie. Yep, there you go. We said the same thing.
I disagree. I liked the element in this remake is you got Jason like running after people.
Oh yeah, well he runs.
I don't recall seeing that. I don't recall seeing that a whole lot.
Oh, he runs his ass off in part 3.
Does he?
Oh, I promise you.
I guess it's been a while, but okay.
No, he
I just remember feeling like I just remember feeling there was more menace behind the Jason portrayed in 09 than any other ones, and I thought maybe it was because they showed him just like fucking running after people.
No, I mean, look, yeah, he runs in this one for sure, and they did it well. I think he portrayed that run the best, especially when he's about to slam that machete down and coming to the camera at the opening scene.
Yeah.
But no, in part 3, he runs hardcore. In part 4, he still runs, but not as fast as he did in part 3. It's part 2, he still kind of runs also in part 2, but he doesn't have the hockey mask or anything on like that. But there are moments in part 2 where he's running as well. It's really not until he becomes zombie Jason in part 6 to where he's just like walking. And part 5, he's kind of just like fast walk. But I promise, man, like look at part 3. There's a scene at the end where she thinks she's seeing him up in the top window, and he's got his mask off, and then he just all of a sudden she sees the bottom back door of that cabin, and it busts open, and he's like, and he just starts hauling ass after her with his no mask on. So I promise you.
I think I can picture that scene now that you're talking about it. But fuck, man, it's been forever since I've watched any of these.
Oh, see, I watch them like every other day. But I agree with Andrew Edwards as far as like playing the greatest hits and everything. But I will say the more and more time passes and I watch this movie, the more I really enjoy it more every time, because I think it really does a good job at giving you that Friday the 13th feel.
You know what? I'm going to push back one more time. I think what he added was stupendous tits.
Oh yeah. Oh, stupendous. And then when he calls her bro, he goes, oh, "You're so juicy, bro." They're together. There's no dude.
Literally,
he calls her bro.
Literally banging that girl and says, "Oh, your tits are so juicy, bro." Like,
so juicy,
what?
Bro. Yeah, classic. Travis Van Winkle was the perfect, casting for that role. They wanted you to hate him, and boy, did you hate him, just like he was in Transformers. But man,
yeah. And then he screams like a girl.
It's beautiful. And then his demise, dude, his kill was probably the worst in the movie. I mean, you got the kill where, what's his name? I can't ever remember his name, but he goes into the shop and he's trying to get the tools to fix the cabinet.
Yeah.
And then Jason like pulls his head back and shoves that Phillips head screwdriver slowly in his neck. And he's like, ah! That's brutal, dude. But then Travis Van Winkle, when Jason like comes behind him, stabs him with the machete, then stabs him in the front, starts ripping him up the chest like this, and then picks him up because his tow truck comes by and stops, and he slams him back on these big spikes on the tow truck, and he's like, and then the tow truck driver sees Jason in the rear view, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he drives off, and Travis Van Winkle's just driving. I mean, it's just it might not be gory looking, but thinking about what's happening in that scene is just like, yeah, fuck you, Travis.
But yeah, the Asian kid that gets killed in the garage, he was I forget his name too, but he was in that great Rear Window remake called Disturbia.
Oh yeah.
Well, when he's in that shed before he gets killed, and he opens up like a $100 bottle of like scotch, and he smells like, oh, that smells like money.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Smells like money. And then he takes a shot, and he's like, "Hey, you grease wheels with this shit."
Yeah. That's so funny, man.
No, his little improv stuff was good, and so was the other dude. A-Train's in that.
That is that dude, isn't it?
Yeah, that's A-Train. He gets killed with the axe in the back again, dude. When Jason throws that axe, if you think about that axe hitting you in the spinal cord, and he's like, "I can't move," and then Jason comes back and he just like steps on the axe. It's not all that gory, but it's super effective. I just think the kills rock. My only one that I don't like is when he's behind her in the shower. Visually, that looks great, But we've talked about this.
Yes, we have, because they
doesn't
ruined
work right
that
in the
entire scare moment. Yeah.
The scare moments ruined that with the music, because you see Jason before the music hits, and so you never get scared watching it. You're just like, oh shit, he's behind her. I got another comment thanks for contributing so much, Andrew Edwards. Not you, Andrew, but it says it allows you to get all the franchise feels bottled into one flick you can quickly consume. Overall success sadly hasn't been built upon since. Yeah, you're right. And the reason it hasn't been is because of those damn lawsuits going over between who owns the rights to Jason Voorhees and who owns the rights to Friday the 13th. Because Victor Miller, who wrote the original movie, created Friday the 13th, but he didn't create the Jason that we know with the hockey mask. He created a little kid that got killed, but that was it. He didn't create this character that was this mindless monster walking around killing people. So I think the lawsuit is finally like getting to a point to where they're both going to be happy with what they're getting. And then we're going to finally see Friday the 13th movies being made again, I think.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see a sequel to this one. I know they probably won't do it, but I think it would have been, at least give us Derek Mears as Jason again. You know?
Yeah, I would agree to that. I mean, I would actually rather them just do a whole new remake and make it and make it an anthology where, I think I said this in one of our last Friday the 13th movies. Stop killing him. You're only going to bring him back.
Yeah.
So stop killing him. Just make it a whole new scenario, whole new timeline every fucking time. Nobody's gonna care. We're all still going to see this. So at least just make it make sense.
Now, would you want the same Jason every time, just as different scenario?
Yeah, you can make the same. You're not showing much of his face, anyways.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but a lot of times it matters what the guy playing it is. Not a lot of time, it does matter who's playing him because of the way they move, the way they react, all that stuff. I mean, just saying, Derek Mears, I think you can see that he's putting a lot into his body movement and everything. And
I don't know. You know what? I guess there's something there too, where you could recast who's playing Jason every time, as a way to not add confusion.
That'd be cool to see a Friday the 13th show, to let all these different people that are even make slightly famous horror directors like do an episode, show us your version.
Yes.
Of Friday the 13th.
Yes.
That'd be dope.
And don't fucking put that shit on Netflix. Make it an hour and a half long movie that comes out every other year or every year. And this one is this director's vision. This one next year is this director's vision.
Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome.
You could do that for 10 years.
Hey, so Andrew Edwards, he just wrote, "Deliver me a winter Friday the 13th in the snow." I agree. And in fact, Platinum Dunes even said when they were being interviewed after the 2009 Friday the 13th, because they did announce a sequel to that before the lawsuit happened. And it's Brad Forum and Andrew something, but the two guys that own Platinum Dunes with Michael Bay. It's because it's their three dudes that do Platinum Dunes. They said, yes, we're very interested in doing something in the snow. We've always wanted to do that, and we're leaning towards that. And of course, the lawsuit happens. But Andrew, if you want to go see something online, this is something that's really cool, and you might know about this. But there's 2 fan films made by a guy named Vincent DeSanti, I think is his name. It looks like it's like Vincente, but it's Vincent DeSanti. And he plays Jason, but he wrote and directed these. And one of them's called Never Hike Alone. And then that one was really good. It's a cool depiction of Jason. It's what they call Ghost Jason, because Jason's like completely black behind the hockey mask. You can't see anything. It's pretty cool. So online, he's sort of garnered this nickname of Ghost Jason. But Never Hike Alone, I really recommend it. It's a 30 or 40-minute short film. It's really well done. It has Jason vibes to it, and Jason's in it. And then there's Never Hike in the Snow, which was the sequel. That one I would highly recommend. I'd recommend both of them because the second one, the Never Hike in the Snow, will make a little more sense. But
listen, man, Andrew Edwards, these are not like shitty student films, dude. Like they're
well made.
These are well made. They were well funded by. When he says fan made, he means like they were just, it was like on a GoFundMe kind of thing or a Kickstarter. But these guys, these shorts, I mean, the fact that they're recognized by Jason and Friday the 13th
They're
fan.
beloved. Like,
I mean, I think they've actually garnered enough attention that they're invited to Comic-Con simply because of these short films they've done.
They're very renowned about doing these things now, as far as people know who they are because of these things, and people like what they're doing. And they're making a third one to box it into like a 3-part thing, 3 shorts. And all of us fans are waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray, but they're starting to get in that motion of it because it's gained so much popularity.
And
so,
it really is a genius idea amongst a bunch of idiots like us who are fans and also filmmakers. And
I want more Jason.
Yeah, like it bothers me. It bothers me that Bobby and I did not create this ourselves.
Yeah, right. But hey, we can come up with some sort of idea. We just got to get there. And we also have something that before we leave, we guys want to show you guys. But hey, that is going to do it. I think we're done talking about the guys, right? I mean, I love the Friday the 13th remake 2009. It gets better every time I watch it, so much to where any complaints that I had about it initially when it first came out, I'm cool with now. Like, I'm like, you know what? I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's not the best one ever made, but like you said, it was sort of Andrew Edwards. It was a good greatest hits. Gave you all the vibes from the whole franchise. You can consume it all at once. And so kind of the best elements of part 1 through 4, really like that. But before we leave, guys, just want one more thing to show y'all. Be looking up for this. I am almost done with a full cut of Lake Court. I'm actually waiting for some VFX shots to come back from our cinematographer. He's got them. I'm waiting for him to send them back, and I'm sure he's working on them because he's been good about keeping his word with stuff. But until then, here's a little teaser trailer for our film coming up, Lake Court.
What was supposed to be a weekend vacation, just a harmless getaway, turned out to be their last stop.
All right, so there's a better trailer coming, I promise, very soon. But that's just a little something we put together back in the beginning of this whole thing, which I can't believe it's almost done, dude. I was thinking about this the other day.
Fucking finally, though.
It was an idea, a year ago, I guess, months and months ago, and now, I mean, it's only been 3 months since we shot it. So, I mean, it's not like it's like, I know some people, no names, but have taken forever, years to finish their projects. So I feel like we're about to be done with this one, entering it into stuff and moving on to the next one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, we come up with this idea, I think sometime in I think you and I talked about wanting to collaborate on something like, let's do this in like 2020 when the world was shut down. And then 2021, the idea came about. And then it was like late 2021, early 2022, when it was just like, all right, the script's done, So anyways.
Well, Andrew Edwards just said, thanks for doing this, fellas. Great memories of these movies and looking forward to checking out y'all slasher. Hey, thanks, dude. And I promise you, it actually looks way better than that trailer. That little teaser trailer, Andrew and I filmed with my little camera.
Before we had any real footage done. None of that.
Before we even started shooting the movie with our paid cameraman who has a good camera, like an actual professional camera. So I'm really happy with the way this stuff's turning out, and I'm looking forward to you guys being able to see it when it's time. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to just release it to online at first because we're going to try to submit it into some festivals and everything. But once there will be a day to where it will be available. So that time will come. But we will be informing everybody what festivals it's in. So if you're interested in festivals and stuff like that, I will be putting out schedules and everything of where it's getting submitted and all that stuff. So, or where it's being accepted. So anyways, yeah, Lake Court. It's Andrew and I's little baby. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate y'all. This has been fun. Andrew Edwards, thanks for joining us. I know my boy Pilch Daddy, he joined us. So, hey, anybody who want to leave in the comments after the fact, I promise I'll respond to them later on. And yeah, we love you guys. And remember, Life gives you lemons.
Put some hot fresh popcorns.
Oh shit!